Far from the light of holy terror, at the very edges of the galaxy, the halo stars await. These ancient stars are all that remain before the vast intergalactic void, a place of uncertainty, danger, and mysterious phenomena, haunted by unknown beings. This is not a place for rational living men. Still, they attract the eccentric, the curious, and the obscure. Come amongst the halo and witness the wonders of past ages. Slevixus turned to study his war-host in the bright morning light. A kaleidoscopic array of colours and cacophony of sounds greeted him, and he delighted in the variety of stimuli to his senses. Soon they would be unleashed upon their foes, and he would savour the occasion even more, as his prey were amongst the most delectable of delights. When he had first learned of the Space Wolves' attack on Krult's base, he had laughed. It brought him joy to see Krult humbled somewhat, even though he knew it was a temporary setback for the Chaos Overlord. Still, an opportunity to needle Krult's pride was always an amusement. In contrast, he had at first been outraged when Krult had given the opportunity to pursue and crush the remaining Space Wolves to Orcish barbarians. It was only after Krult had slowly and patiently explained the overall plan to him that Slevixus' mood had changed to one of delight and anticipation. Krult had seen no real need to pursue the Wolves of Fenris, and while angered at the attack and loss of his forward base, had returned to his usual temperament, scheming and plotting the menagerie's next moves. Slevixus sometimes wondered if Krult was really a worshipper of Tzeentch in disguise, and not a champion of Slaanesh, for the Chaos Overlord seemed to take more delight in planning and organising than in revelling in the sensations of slaughter, or the cruel delight in a long drawn-out torture of his victims. Still, Krult's strategizing had, on the whole, been of great benefit for the Chaos Marines, and without him the Warband would have been clearly split amongst the myriad egos and personalities. Instead of pursuing Imperial dogs, Slevixus was to lead an attack on an ancient Eldar installation within the jungles of this world. Krult's psychers had spent long months studying this structure, and had determined it was a webway portal of some kind, designed to allow Eldar forces to quickly move between worlds without having to transverse the fickle tides of the warp. Zobak Slicktongue, one of Clavius the Mind-Fondler's underlings, had spent considerable time studying the Eldar and their devices, and had declared that he had not only determined the secrets of accessing the portal, but had also attuned himself to its psychic spore, and could tell when it was going to be used. The trick to accessing the portal was to attack soon before or after it had been used by the Eldar. That way, it would be much easier to break through the ancient psylocks that held the portal closed. It would take some time to undertake the ritual required to do this, so Savixius was to lead an initial attack on the Eldar just after they had merged, while Krult summoned a larger force to follow up and hold the location as the ritual proceeded. If he was being honest, Slevixus mused, he didn't really care about the specifics. That was Krult's area, and he had no real interest in challenging the Overlord while opportunities to kill and maim were presented. He had seen the fight between Krult and Zuvis, the last who had dared to make a play for leadership of the Warband, and that had not gone well for the challenger, who now languished within the Dreadnought's sarcophagus. While Krult provided him with opportunities to indulge himself, Slevixus would be loyal. For now at least. Slevixus' Warband. Slevixus is a Chaos Lord in his own right, and has led many a daring raid on the false servants of the Imperium, and triumphed in personal combat against many a champion. He is regarded by Lord Krult as questionably competent, but useful, as a band of deranged killers have been drawn to Slevixus' side over the years, and if pointed in the right direction, they have proved at least somewhat effective. This is the other half of my painted Chaos forces at present. A few more models await their heraldry, but the remaining models nicely round out to another 1500 points or so. Slevixus is the leader of this force, a Chaos Lord of Slaanesh, with a bolt pistol, bolt gun and power fist, as well as frag, crack and plasma grenades. He typically takes to the field protected by the shimmering bubble of a refractor field. Zobak Slittongue is a mighty Chaos Sorcerer, and one of Clavius the Mind-Fondler's coterie. While the Mind-Fondler's main interest is in probing the thoughts of others and manipulating them to do his bidding, Zobak is much more concerned with the soul matter that is attached to each living creature and that fuels the warp itself. In particular, He has made it his life's work to study the Eldar and how their spirits can be captured within waystones, as well as how these interact with their technology. Sobek is a level 2 sorcerer equipped with a bolt pistol, bolt gun and frag and crack grenades. I count his tentacles as a chainsword, as surely he can use these to attack or grapple with an opponent, and he also carries an ancient force rod to support his psychic abilities. Since psychers wandering around on their own can be quite vulnerable, he takes to the field with a conversion field as added protection. Shavash the Blessed is an exalted champion of Slaanesh, who has received a number of gifts from their patron: the visage of a fiend, a snipping claw, a long whipping tongue, and Slaanesh's one hermaphroditic breast. Shavash exists only to indulge in excess, be that an excess of killing or an excess of exotic chemical concoctions matters not, only the sensations matter, and Shavash constantly craves the next high. Shavash follows Slevixus' band, as Savixius is guaranteed to be on the hunt for fresh victims. Shavash is an exalted champion equipped with a bolt pistol, frag grenades and a power fist, the aforementioned claw, and as suits a champion of Slaanesh, the Combat Drugs Wargear card. Drak the Cyclopean carries the Warband's icon, a great sigil of Slaanesh. Slevixius' host used the icon as the centre point of dark rituals, and is bound with numerous incantations and the blood of innocents, ensuring a ready connection to the warp, should the host's demonic allies be required. Drak is the army icon bearer, with a mark of Slaanesh, bolt pistol, bolt gun and frag grenades. He bears a warp banner, allowing for some additional summoning points to be generated at a key moment in battle. The veterans of Squad allure Slevixius' cronies and stooges, and hang upon his every word. In battle, this group of murderous dogs are led by Vigit Spikeskull, a competent, if unimaginative leader. The squad carry 2 heavy weapons, a tank-busting las cannon and a captured Imperial heavy plasma gun, meaning they're more than capable of tackling armoured vehicles or heavy infantry. A squad of veteran Chaos Space Marines led by an inspiring champion with the mark of Slaanesh, bolt pistol, bolt gun, frag grenades and a power axe. 3 veterans carry bolters, the other 2 a las cannon and a heavy plasma gun from the Ultramarines Codex Armoury, purchased at 150% cost. You can't take the Mark 1 heavy plasma guns for Chaos Infantry in the 2nd Ed Codex, so if you do want a heavy plasma on your Chaos Space Marine, you're going to have to pay a bit more from the Ultramarines book. Bike Squad Temptation is the fast reconnaissance element of Slevixius' host. Ulkrok the Slayer leads this unit of daredevil riders who take delight in flying their archaic jetbikes as close to the ground as possible, weaving through terrain at breakneck speeds, seeking their next thrill with no consideration for their own safety. 3 Chaos Space Marine bikers with an aspiring champion of Slaanesh on bike. 1 biker carries a melter gun, and the unit has been upgraded to take crack grenades. Ulkrok has a power fist in the form of a Demonet's Claw to give them a bit more punch should they try to go for a hit and run attack. Despite the fact the models have old jet bikes, I tend to treat them as normal bikers, which generally causes more confusion for myself when I set them up, thinking they're jet bikes, and then suddenly realise that I have to take terrain into account. The Palace of Indulgence is Slevixius' personal transport, an arcane land raider with a grimacing skull mounted on the front. Few of us have been invited to enter this tank, and those that have emerged, often do so with stupefied expressions of dazed joy upon their faces. In the support section we have a Chaos Land Raider. This is another Doctor-Spork print. Land Raiders are fairly tough tanks in 2nd edition, though quite pricey at 220 points. Again, like the Predator in Lord Krult's force, it doesn't have any targeters, so if you are using a Chaos Force and don't want to pay for demonic possession, you have to accept that it may well miss quite often, particularly if you're firing into something that's got cover. While Lord Krult despises most demons as nothing more than vermin and carrion, Slevixius always looks forward to that point in the battle when the veil between worlds is torn asunder and the creatures of chaos descend upon their prey in an orgy of destruction. Correspondingly, his plans of attacks are designed to ensure the greatest opportunity for such an event to occur, spreading discord amongst his foes and utilising arcane rituals and tools such as Drak the Cyclopean's warp banner. The warband is rounded out by a number of demons. 3 Fiends of Slaanesh, in this case slightly more recent models from the late 2000s, and a pack of 6 demonettes. Savixius as host are on the march. Soon they will have the opportunity to attack the Eldar of Craftworld Ulfway, but who will come off the victor?